whilst we are all equal, we are certainly not all the same.
Welcome to Agency for Change, a podcast from KidGlov that brings you the stories of changemakers who are actively working to improve our communities. In every episode, we'll meet with people who are making a lasting impact in the places we call home.
Let's say you decide to open a business, a retail store that sells all kinds of things, like a Target or Walmart. How would you ensure your building was accessible? You might add curb cuts or ramps from the parking lot to the sidewalk. If a building had more than one floor, you could install an elevator. Motorized scooters are a great option for larger stores, and so are handicapped accessible bathrooms. Braille signage could help those who are visually impaired, and you'll probably want to add designated parking that's close to your entrance. Great job. Those are all accessibility options for a person in a wheelchair, someone with vision impairment, or a person using a cane. Now, what if I asked you to make your store more accessible to someone with autism? How about someone with epilepsy? These are disabilities which are less obvious, and they may require varied accommodations. So, how could you help them? We'll find out the answer to that question and more as we sit down with the CEO of a company working to make the invisible visible by giving those with hidden disabilities an option to communicate their needs to those around them and helping them remove the barriers that disabled people face in society. Hi, everyone. This is Kelly Peterson, Chief Creative Officer at KidGlov. Welcome to another episode of the Agency for Change podcast. Today's guest is Paul White, CEO of Hidden Disabilities Sunflower, which provides an awareness tool for people whose disabilities may not be visible, allowing others to offer them the time, care, and understanding they need. Paul, I'm eager to talk with you today and learn more about the great impact you are making on the world.
Hello, Kelly. I'm delighted to be here to be able to talk to you. So thank you for inviting me.
You bet. Paul, for those who may not be familiar with Hidden Disabilities Sunflower, talk a bit about what the organization does and how you help people.
So the Hidden Disabilities Sunflower is a simple tool that people with non-visible disabilities can wear to demonstrate that they have a invisible condition. And it enables others, businesses, the general public, whoever, to be able to recognise that person has a hidden disability and simply to be able to offer that person some simple kindness, understanding or support that they may need.
So you said a simple tool. Tell me about that tool.
So we created the Sunflower as this tool, as we recognise that whilst organisations could support people with visible disabilities, how could they go about supporting people with non-visible disabilities? And there really wasn't any way to be able to do that unless the person simply went up to them and said, I have this condition. So we recognised there really was a space here. And the idea we had was to create a sunflower on a green background as a simple tool that people can choose to wear to demonstrate their condition. And we went to businesses and said, look, this is our idea. This is the concept that we have. And businesses thought it was a great idea. That the sunflower originated in Gatwick Airport in 2016, when Gatwick Airport was the prime environment, if you like, to be able to use the sunflower. They would see tons of people coming through in wheelchairs or with a white cane or if they was wearing a hearing aid, and they could support that person, but they couldn't support the person whose disability was invisible. So alongside the airport and also local charities and other groups, we really explored the idea of sort of creating this symbol. And in the end, we decided on a sunflower, the sunflower being a symbol that represents happiness, positivity and strength in our eyes. And of course, it's gender neutral. And we decided on the sunflower as the tool that we would use. And that's how we've gone about it.
I think that exactly all of those terms when I think about a sunflower, happiness, joy,
That's it.
all of it. I'm curious to hear about your journey to becoming the CEO of Hidden Disabilities Sunflower. What drew you to this organization, and what did you do before this role?
So that is quite an interesting story. Previous to the Sunflower, I was working for a printing company. I owned a printing company, and we provide printing and merchandise. And whilst my father was disabled, and also my daughter is autistic, but we never really considered ourselves really as a disabled family, if you like. We overcame our problems as most families do. We overcame them as they were, and disability in general didn't really touch me as a human being. And it was my company that was providing Gatwick Airport with the merchandise. And the conversation with Gatwick Airport was around the sunflower. One of my guys came back from Gatwick Airport and said, "Look, they've got this idea of this sunflower," and I thought, that's a good idea, isn't it? And I kind of thought to myself, it's a really good idea, that. And I sort of thought about it and sat there and thought, yeah, that could possibly work. And at the start, it really was about me just selling merchandise to the airport. I thought, this is going to be great. We're going to sell tons of these things. So we started selling them to Gatwick, and it became a success. And it moved then to other airports, and we were selling tons of these things. And I kind of thought to myself, well, I think I'll probably try and make a bit of a go of this as a business, and never really having really it was around selling the product. And then I started getting messages from people, Kelly, about how the sunflower had changed people's lives, how by wearing the sunflower and something that we had provided had enabled them to go and do things they haven't been able to do in years or could never do before. How enabled people to be more independent, to be braver, if you like, and to go out and do things. And that really had a fundamental effect on me as a person. That I thought, this really has got more. This is about more than just simply selling stuff. This has got the ability to actually do something of good for people or for society. And that really affected me, as I say, as a person. And from that moment, I really had a sort of a 180 sort of shift on what I was doing, thought about how I was providing the sunflower. I then created the business in a much more holistic and empathetic way, that we would go out and support people with hidden disabilities, not just sell the product. I built a team around me of people who had experience in providing support to people with disabilities. And for me personally, it's been an incredible journey that I've been on as a person. I was in a space in printing where it was a very, very tough environment. The environment was kind of molded you into that kind of person where you was very, very tough and very hard-nosed. And I was getting to the point where I wasn't overly happy with the person I was becoming. The opportunity with the sunflower came, and I've taken it and I've grasped it. The ability now to do something of good, as I say, to society, is intoxicating for me. Yeah, that's kind of my story, really. I don't think it's a regular story where people sort of fall into this space. I kind of, or people come into this space. I literally just fell into it, and I'm on this huge learning curve where I'm sort of learning about disability and everything that's part of that and the barriers. But I'm getting there, and then the organizer, I've got some great people in my team who support me, and that helps.
What an amazing beginning story. I just love that. And I don't think any story is a common story, though I do find commonalities even between your and my story, because printing is a big part of marketing communications, as you know, and I'm a marketer at heart. But I worked for an advertising agency that helped for-profits, and I thought, dang, I am getting really, really good at helping for-profits be more profitable. But there has to be a way that I use my strengths for good. And that is when I, as a marketer, went to helping nonprofit organizations. And it's been years and years ago that I made that switch. And it is a self-discovery about, wow, I could use my strengths in a different way to help others. And I loved the term that you used, intoxicating. So I'm going to have to borrow that because intoxicating for good. I love that concept. So, Paul, I understand that this movement originated in the UK. How did the effort get started? You spoke a little bit about it, but is there something you want to add there?
Well, as I said before, the Sunflower first started at Gatwick, where, as I say, they recognised they could, or they see their passengers with visible disabilities, but they couldn't see the passengers with non-visible disabilities. It was very successful at Gatwick Airport, and we then rolled out to other airports in the UK. And first and foremost, it was very, very centred around the travel industry. But the Sunflower is very, very organic in the way that it grows. It will an airport will take it on, and then it will move. Sunflower wearer will then move from the airport, obviously, to the train, and then go from the train to shopping centre. So it's a very, very organic growth. So we started. So the Sunflower then grew organically, really across the UK at first, and we've touched all elements of society, from shopping to leisure, to healthcare, to education. Every element of really that touches our lives is picked up in some way or form by the Sunflower. And that's really how the journey started for us, an organisation, and that's still the pattern we see now. We will see an organisation in a country, usually an airport, will pick up the Sunflower because one of the airlines obviously is flying from an airport to there, which means the Sunflower wearers are wearing their Sunflower. And then organisations, businesses will start to recognise that in that location and see the good in picking the Sunflower up.
I bet it does spread. It's the marketing term guerrilla marketing, where it's unexpected and then you see it, or snowballing effect
of one person to one person. I just think if there was a visual map to show where it started, and then just a ripple effect of the Sunflower would be a neat visual for that. When you first started saying that sunflowers grow organically, I thought you were actually talking about a sunflower. And I like that play on the visual too, because not only in real sunflowers, but your sunflowers as well. So tell me you talked about the tool, and it's a lanyard, badge, or wristband. What is the importance of empowering people to wear it or not wear it on their own terms?
Well, first and foremost, the wearing the Sunflower is a choice. It's people choose to wear the Sunflower because they want to be seen, and there's no benefit in wearing the Sunflower apart from being able to demonstrate that you have a hidden disability, and then for organisations will then be able to provide you with that service, and organisations then decide what they will offer to that person. For instance, so in an airport, for instance, if they see you queuing, they may take you out of that queue and put you into the disabled queue, which will be, if there is such a thing, because that will probably be easier for you. It will enable people to stay with their families, for instance, if they instead of being split up in certain circumstances. So that's kind of how the Sunflower really kind of works. And as I say, it's a choice. People choose to wear the Sunflower to be able to demonstrate their condition. And there's a number of different wearables. The most used one is the lanyard, really because it's so wearable. You take it on, you take it off, you put your coat on, it's that kind of thing. But there are things like I'm wearing here, which is a pin badge. There are wristbands. So there are a lot more. If people don't feel confident enough to be able to wear a Sunflower, which is completely reasonable in regards to some people aren't completely confident they want to show their condition or they have a condition. There are a lot more subtle wearables such as the wristband that you can wear, and all businesses that we work with are trained to look out for all of the Sunflower products that we provide.
So what are some examples of
disabilities that aren't immediately obvious?
So an example of disabilities that aren't obvious, there's 7 kinds of types of disabilities. There's physical disabilities, of which an example of that might be something like cerebral palsy. There's sensory disabilities, which is visual or hearing impairments. There's intellectual disability, which is learning difficulties. There's mental disability, which could be anxiety, for example. There's visceral, which are some of the deficiencies in the functioning of an organ within your body, so heart disease, for instance. And then the final type is what they call I can never say it, comorbidities, or multiple disabilities. And then it's so that is the interaction between multiple disabilities that creates a very specific result in every case. So examples really are there, can include learning difficulties, mental health, physical, mobility, speech, visual or hearing impairments. It can also include chronic illnesses such as diabetes or asthma. And it really is any condition or impairment that affects a person's day-to-day life. And living with these conditions can make daily life for many people very demanding. And without visible evidence of these conditions, life can be painful, exhausting, and isolating.
So what kind of barriers do people with non-visible disabilities face when traveling, shopping, or in the workplace?
Well, the biggest barrier that a person faces is the fact that their condition is non-visible and people aren't able to offer support. In my experience, most people are kind, most people are caring, and most people will want to offer the support and understanding to a person if they've got the ability to do so. And here at the Sunflower, we're not experts on a specific condition, Kelly. We're generalists. We support all disabilities of all kinds. So the biggest barrier that we saw that the disabled community were facing was the fact that they wasn't able to show that they had a condition because that condition was not visible. So everybody will have a different take, if you like, in regards to their own condition. One thing that I've certainly learned through working at the Sunflower is everybody's relationship with their condition is completely different. You've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. It doesn't mean that no two people really are the same in any way that they experience their condition, and also in regards to the barriers that they would face. So it's quite a difficult question to ask, because that's one of the questions you would need to ask the person who has the condition. But for me, and as I say, repeating myself, for the organisation, it really was the fact that that person's disability is not visible, and we've now got the opportunity to be able to make them visible.
So what types of accommodations
Might they need to overcome the barriers that you spoke about?
So a kind of accommodation that a disabled person might need is simply, as I mentioned in travel, is simply allowing you to remain with your families at all times. Certainly around, if you've got a neurological condition, you've got a lot of sensory challenges. That could be sounds, that could be lights, that could be smells within shopping centres. We certainly around visual, if you're visually impaired, making sure that the signs are of a large enough size to be able to read. I mean, there's a huge number of accommodations that can be made, from step-free access all the way through to making the signs more accessible for people who are visually impaired. For us as an organisation, because we are generalists around a condition, we really focus on the ability to enable businesses to start that journey. And we really are the first stepping stone, if you like, as an organisation, to becoming disability confident as an organisation. The Sunflower really can be used as that catalyst to start that conversation within organisations around disability, and then expanding your knowledge around what you need to do and the accommodations you should be making to make your location accessible.
So let's be that catalyst right now
On this podcast. How about that?
That's us. That's what we're here for.
Are you game for that? So what advice do you wish you could give people who aren't familiar with hidden disabilities?
So the advice I'd like to give to people who do not have a hidden disability really is recognising the number of conditions that there are and the barriers that those people face. Within the UK, 1 in 5 of us have some form of disability. and 80% of those people's disabilities are not visible. So in the UK, that's over 10 million people. So that gives you an idea and a feeling for the sheer scale of the percentage of the population that are dealing with non-visible disabilities. And if you look at in regards to how businesses are supporting non-visible disabilities, one of the elements or the areas where we've been most proud within the Sunflower is how businesses have used the Sunflower to start to create a culture within their organisation that enables people to speak freely about disabilities. One of the areas that really is most challenging for businesses is to create that culture where a person is comfortable to be able to disclose that they have a condition without fear that their job will be marginalised or they won't receive a promotion. And that really is one of the biggest sort of like challenges that people face. Because, and certainly for businesses, as within the UK, the Equalities Act says that if you disclose you have a condition, then businesses are duty bound to be able to offer any accommodations that are needed, are required to for that person to do their job better. But you can only do that if a person feels comfortable to be able to disclose they have a condition. So the Sunflower has really been used in businesses, as I say, to help create that culture of disclosure, to make people feel more confident. And as such, disability and hidden disabilities become much more seen, much more recognised, and hopefully much more accepted.
So do you have a firsthand experience about how the sunflower
Symbol has helped someone and to share its impact?
When I was talking about when I first started with the Sunflower, one of the emails that I first received, and it still makes the hairs stand up on my arms now. A guy emailed me who had dementia, and he used to play walking football with his mates at the local leisure centre, and his wife used to take him there and drop him off and pick him back. And then the bus company recognised and took on the Sunflower, and because the bus company recognised it, he was then able to independently get himself to football, play football with his mates, and independently came home. And that really affected me as a person. That person we gave through a simple symbol that we designed or we brought to market, if you like. That person was then able to regain his independence and really to regain control, if you like, over his condition. And that was one of the emails that I had that really affected me, and it still does. I've kept that email. It's one of those ones that's saved. It's saved in my special folder. And whenever you're getting those bad days, that's one of the emails that I get out, and I read those emails, and I really see the good that the Sunflower is doing. And that really helps me to get through some of the challenging days.
I'm glad you have that
folder, and that's an amazing story. KidGlov's founder, Lynn Weinman, has a folder similar, a love folder of all those love notes and impact stories of our work. And I think those are really good for good and maybe not so good days. So that's an incredible story. So, Paul, how has this movement expanded into other parts of the world? Are there any countries or areas that you'd love to see it go next?
So the Sunflower is now locally recognised in the US and Canada, Australia and New Zealand, in Ireland, Holland, Belgium, the Nordics, and we've recently just launched in the UAE, in the United Arab Emirates. So these countries we've now got a local presence providing the Sunflower in these regions, and support and awareness is really growing within these countries. The next countries for us is we're certainly looking to try and get into India. That would be very exciting to try and get into India, and then really into the Far East. And how we use how we go about that is we use the airports, as I've said before, we use the airports that support the Sunflower to be that sort of stepping stone into a country. We've with the Sunflower, not only the airports recognise it, but there's also a number of airlines. That means people are supported from end to end on their journey. And then the hope is as they visit a country, they start moving around in that country, it starts to be seen. And then from there, So it really is. I mean, it's been an incredible journey for us as an organisation. Globally, we've distributed now over 3.5 million lanyards globally, which is just incredible, an incredible number. We are recognised in over 20,000 locations globally for sunflower wearers, but we've only really scratched the surface of this. If you use the equation I did around 1 in 5 of us has a disability and 80% of it's hidden globally, that's billions and billions of people. So we've really just scratched the surface of this, and so our work is nowhere near done.
Well, that's definitely a motivator.
Absolutely.
That our work is not done. So, Paul, tell us about 2023. What do you have to look forward to?
So, for International Day of People with Disabilities in December of this year, we decided that we would like to create a database to as a list of the huge number of different conditions that people are dealing with. There really is no definitive list, Kelly, of anybody's condition, of the number of conditions. There's obviously the different types of disability, which is what I mentioned earlier, but there's no one definitive list of all of these different disabilities. So we kind of thought to ourselves, well, how do we get a full list of all of these conditions, really to show and to demonstrate to the general public, as I say, the sheer number of conditions that are there. So we decided that we, as an organisation, we are best known for the lanyard. We, as I've mentioned before, we've sold over 3.5 million lanyards as an organisation, and it's it's the product that we're most known. So for 2023, we are showing a disability conference in the UK called NAIDEX on March 23rd. And on March the 23rd, we are going to create the world's longest lanyard, which we hope is going to be over 3,500 metres long. And every single metre of that lanyard is going to represent a different person's condition. And we asked people to go onto our site and to add their condition onto our site. And for every condition that gets, the lanyard will get about 1 metre longer. And the hope is by the time we get to NAIDEX, it will be long enough to break the Guinness World Record.
I just love that idea. And do you mind, Paul, sharing with our listeners how this whole great concept came about?
So I was in the pool swimming up and down with basically just in a world of my own, swimming backwards and forwards. And I was kind of thinking, and the thought that went through my head was, I wonder if we've sold enough lanyards to go all the way to the moon and back. That's really kind of what I was thinking. And then I kind of thought around, I wonder if we could make a lanyard that's so long that we could really use this as the ability to represent each person's condition. So whilst I was swimming, I was thinking of these ideas, and as I swim, ideas tend to drop in one at a time, which is quite convenient. So whilst I was swimming, I was thinking about this idea. I then Googled it to see how big the current world record was, and it's currently 2,800 meters long. I thought, well, we could definitely beat that. And the idea for the lanyard really is as a visual point or a visual marker, really to show the sheer scale of conditions that are there, to be able to show something that's over 2.25 miles long, and each metre of that is a person's condition. That person is dealing with a different condition, and the challenges that person faces is hugely exciting to us. So the hope is that on March the 23rd, we will break the Guinness World Record. The Sunflower will hold the record for the world's longest lanyard. And that will be in celebration of the number of hidden disabilities there are in society.
What a great event to look forward to. And then next stop after the longest lanyard is a trip to the moon, I bet.
That's it. That is next. Yeah, that
next.
might take
that goes to the moon and back.
That may take a few more lengths in the pool, that one.
It might. I love that the creative spark happens in the pool.
And
Yeah.
I have them often when I'm asleep and I need to wake up and write something down. Sometimes I wake up and that's the most brilliant idea. And sometimes I wake up and think, what was I thinking? So I'm curious how you take a note when you're in the pool. How do you get this thought of brilliance so you don't lose it? You need a waterproof paper or something by you, by the poolside.
I just hung on to it as long as I could until I got into the car. So it was it went up. Whatever happened, I did manage to get it from the pool to my office to be able to write it down. So it is. You're right. It's great that an idea like that has actually come to fruition. And we really, as an organisation, we're hugely excited by the opportunity to do this and the opportunity to be able to create this list of conditions that doesn't exist. I mean, within the list that we've got on the site, you're able to as I say, to put your condition, and there's like the more known conditions that people have put down, such as ADHD, for instance, as a condition that people would know and recognise. But already it's just a huge number of other conditions. I mean, recently I made a note of it earlier. Somebody added a condition which is called Alice in Wonderland syndrome, which is something which basically is a neurological condition that changes the way that people see, hear, or touch objects. So it was named as Alice saw her body grow larger and smaller, which inspired the name of the condition or the syndrome. So that's just an example of how we're going to hopefully use this database, because there's so many conditions that nobody's ever heard of, and the people that are living with that are obviously living with the challenges that condition brings.
If a business was listening right now and they wanted to offer sunflower lanyards to their customers, how would they get started?
So the best place to start is to visit our site at hiddendisabilitiesstore.com. To provide the sunflower to your customers and colleagues, of course, as I've said, is simple. There's training modules that you can take, which basically cover what is a hidden disability, what is the hidden disability sunflower, and what to do and how to approach a person who's wearing the sunflower. So you would take the training modules. You would then provide the sunflower products to your customers for free. We would then add you to our map, so that would then guide sunflower wearers as to where they will be recognised, and we get a huge amount of hits. A lot of sunflower wearers that I know, they have to be very organised when they go out because of their condition and because the barriers that society places on them. Simply leaving the house can be very challenging for some. So we get a huge amount of hits of people looking to see where the sunflower is recognised, that they will be supported. So basically, you add yourself to the map, and that's really it. That's kind of how you go about taking it. There's no need to be a medical expert in regards to being a sunflower friendly business, because, as I say, there's no need to know or ask what a person's specific condition is. The sunflower really is just a simple tool that person has a non-visible disability, and to give you the ability to offer that person the support that they may need.
It's really accessible for everyone.
Absolutely.
To be sunflower friendly,
which I love. I'm inspired by motivational quotes. Could you give us a few of your own words of wisdom for our listeners?
So the one motivational quote I thought about that I use really is whilst we are all equal, we are certainly not all the same. And that's a quote that I use a lot. And that really sort of demonstrates the meaning of the sunflower for me, that all society is equal, but the people are dealing with so many different conditions and barriers in society. We just all need to be a little bit kinder to society. We need to all learn to offer accommodations to others, and recognise that people are dealing with or some people are dealing with a lot more than is visibly apparent. And it just kind of resonates with me, as I say, that we just, as a society, we just need to be a little bit kinder.
What a great message. So, Paul, how can our listeners find out more about the work that Hidden Disabilities Sunflower is doing?
So we have a website, naturally, which is hiddendisabilitiesstore.com. We are also all over social media. So we're obviously on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you Google Hidden Disabilities Sunflower, you will find us in some form.
As we wrap up our time together today, what is the most important thing you would like our listeners to remember about the work you're doing?
That's quite a difficult question. It really is really repeating the message that I've been saying, that the sunflower is a simple tool that people has a non-visible disability. And if you see someone wearing the sunflower, recognize that they have a condition and simply offer them time, care, support, understanding, and the most important one, kindness.
That should not be hard.
Absolutely.
So, Paul, I fully believe that the world needs more change makers like you.
Thank you for taking the time to share with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
We hope you enjoyed today's Agency for Change podcast. To hear all our interviews with those who are making a positive change in our communities, or to nominate a changemaker you'd love to hear from, visit KidGlov.com at KidGlov.com to get in touch. As always, if you like what you've heard today, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.